Like every time we do one of these, Barrett adds like one or two names on the list that don't need to be cast.
The guy who said Enrico, hey, it's Enrico Palazzo in The Naked Gun. Let's recast that guy.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hey, that's me.
That's Jeremy. And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Whoa,
that's Barrett.
That sounds like a tugboat.
Barrett will be doing nothing but grunting the entire episode. You figure it out.
We just released the Croods today, so that was my caveman.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's been a week. What new thing have you gotten pissed off about?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
I'm as mad as hell.
You've never seen me very upset.
What new thing? I've got something, and this may be controversial to a lot of people. I don't understand why, but I'm gonna make my stand here. Having vitriol or hatred or annoyance at grocery store workers in particular, retail workers in general during the pandemic. We are asking essential workers from hospitals, nurses, doctors, clinics, things like that, to go into very dangerous environments and do their work because we have to. There's no other way for it. During this entire thing, my grocery store, none of the grocery stores in my area ever closed one day. And we have done the click list thing where you do it online before and you go and you just pick it up, no contact. I have gone into stores before. I've mentioned that before. And I have seen people get super pissed. I've gotten to get medicine from the pharmacy. I've seen people get super pissed at the grocery store employees that there's no reason to. I've seen the interactions. Now, people are always dicks to grocery store clerks, right? Mm-hmm. Even in the best of times. Mm-hmm. They're always like, well, no, that's supposed to be on sale. Why don't you go back and look for it? Mm-hmm. Like these people aren't trying their best and making minimum wage or a little bit more. But during this time, I have no problem saying that the people that show up to work at grocery stores every day are fucking heroes because they've been there the entire the staff at my local grocery store has been there just about every day. I know them. I know what they look like and stuff like that. And I think they're fucking heroes. It's not like they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars like doctors. Not that that would be an excuse for a doctor to not show up or whatever. But, I mean, seeing people get pissy with these employees, or even if they go to, I haven't been to the Gap or anything like that, or Target, but like I assume this is happening there too. There is no reason for that. These people are doing their best. It's probably not perfect. They're not going to get you the right thing every time, but be kind to these people because they are doing their jobs in very, very difficult circumstances. Am I wrong about this? Are people justified in being pissed off at people, retailers or grocery stores?
So no, never, for the most part. Even if a grocery store clerk is less than friendly with you, right? I've heard people complain about she wasn't friendly or she didn't say one word to me. You don't know maybe she's on a fucking double shift because somebody called out. Maybe she threw her back out lifting a 50-pound bag of something. I mean, you don't know. And I've been there and you guys have been there. There are certainly times when retail employees or their managers are flat out rude or wrong. And even in a pandemic, I could see that being the case. If I went to the grocery store and the lady was like, get in that fucking line over there now. That's rude. I would probably check her on that behavior, or at least go buy something from another store. But, I think there's a line you can draw between not super friendly to you today and being downright rude. And even I think in a pandemic, we can move that line a little bit to give a little more grace to people who are maybe short with you. Because I went to the store yesterday, Monday morning. This is the week of Thanksgiving. So I just needed to get a couple more things for our Thanksgiving meal. I didn't need to be in there for more than 20 minutes. I was in there for about an hour because it was fucking packed. And I almost had an anxiety attack. I can't imagine if I had to work there for 8 or more hours a day, 5 days a week, ever since this pandemic began. I think those people are heroes. I don't think you're underestimating it.
Yeah.
I agree, not to be pissed off at these people, but are you seeing this that often? Like, I'm not seeing it at all. Now, it could be the grocery store I'm going to, because I think people generally love Publix around here. Like, Publix is a generally good store, so like you don't see a lot of these pissed off people. I don't know if you're going to like Kroger or something like that, but
all of them
but I haven't
around my area, and when I was in Georgia too, I saw people being completely rude to the checkout people, the people who are stocking in the aisle, to each other, that kind of thing. And it just, you know what it reminds me of? It's a quick story. But when I was working at the Hollywood 27 in concessions, I don't know if you guys were around with this. We couldn't give change. You remember this? The concessions could not give change. So if somebody gave me $1, I could not give them 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go over to customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a guy that was in line, and I was like, how can I help you? He's like, can you change this? And I was like, I'm sorry, they don't let us do that. You got to go over to customer service. Now, there were 2 people in line at customer service across the, 60 steps away or something like that. And I was like, sorry, we got to do that. And he's like, are you telling me that you can't take 4 quarters out of that cash register and take this $1?
Jeez.
And I was like, sir, I'm sorry. We can get written up for that stuff. I'm sorry. And he was like, I can't believe that you, and I was like, fuck it, took the $1, gave him the change. And I was like, I don't get paid enough for this.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this to me? Why is this anger directed at me? I'm not your Huckleberry. It's fucking Mary, who's the fucking assistant or the concessions manager that's going to be up my fucking ass about giving you change.
You know what the real
but yet I was like, fuck you.
You know what the real problem is, right? It's the policy.
And concession manager Mary, because she was always looking for a reason to get up somebody's ass.
That's very true. But there's nothing worse than a corporation handing down a policy that you have to follow, and then you have angry customer who's right, by the way. They should be able to get the quarters at concession. Look, they shouldn't get pissed at you. You didn't make the fucking rule.
Right.
That's the point.
Right.
But at the same time, they're right. They shouldn't have to go to fucking customer service to get quarters. That makes no sense. Because at the end of the day, they're going to just count your drawer and they're going to find out whether or not you're like $10 short or whatever. That's all. It doesn't, what the fuck does change do? It's the same thing with when I first was working in concessions at Carmike. I'm sure every theater's like this, but they had the policy that you don't give out cups, right? Like you can't give out free cups. Every cup that you hand out has to be the price of the cup, even if it's empty. Yeah. And so like in my first couple of months working at Carmike, some guy very angry, bigger than me, came out and said that, because we had these cup holders that didn't hold every cup. They only held the smalls. They had, if you had a medium and if you had a large and you put it on your armrest and it fell, then then you're the one that fucked up, I guess. And this guy comes out saying that he spilled all his Coke on his jeans and he's pissed off and he wants to get all this, he wants to send us the bill and all that fucking shit. And he goes, I want another cup of Coke or whatever. And I'm sitting there like, I'm a 16-year-old kid. I'm a 16-year-old kid. And I say, I'm sorry, you have to pay for another one to this angry fucking guy. And he's like, what, do you want to make me? He said something like, what, do you want to pay for my pants that I just ruined? Blah, 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 or some shit. And then, of course, some like assistant manager guy comes walking around at the time. And he's like, yeah, Chris, what's up? And I was like, yeah, I mean, he spilt his Coke and he needs a cup. He's like, yeah, just give him another cup. I was like, fuck you. You told us not to do that shit.
God, Regal was fucking fascist about that, man. The cup costs $3.75.
Don't
it's not
even get
the
me
contents
started,
inside
man.
of it.
There were years where my income depended on those fucking cups being right, and it was some of the most ridiculous. Lids, no, don't matter.
Yeah,
not even considered an expense at all. Straws, we don't count those. Napkins, fuck you. Cups, those are worth $3.75, $4.50, and $5.25. God damn it.
Yeah.
Empty.
And you have to upsell it or they'll write you up.
Ah, Christ. Well, I have something like almost as important as Barrett's rant about treating workers with respect.
Okay.
And that's this fucking Taco Bell nachos party pack that I just saw advertised during football games over the weekend. For me, it's a first. Apparently, it premiered a year ago and went away and came back a month and a half ago. This is a 2-foot long by 6-inch wide box of nachos. I'm going to send you a picture so you can see what this fucking shit looks like. What?
Motherfuck.
All right. And it's intended for you to buy this and take to a party.
Oh, yeah.
And look, the last thing I want is to repeatedly dip my fucking fingers into a 2-foot-long box of slop that every other guest at the party is repeatedly dipping their fingers into.
Right.
This is the most illogical. Like, if you buy this and share this with people at a party, you're disgusting. I'm sorry. You disgust me.
Not to mention that if you show up at a party with a giant box of Taco Bell nachos.
I mean, some people are into it. Maybe it's the right kind of party.
There's a bottle of wine. There's like buffalo blue cheese dip or something like that. And then there's a giant box of Taco
Just
Bell
bring
nachos.
a bunch of tacos, goddamn. It's the same fucking ingredients. Why would you make a pig trough of nachos to sell to people? And why would you buy that? I could picture people going in there with no hands, just a mouth and nose rooting around with the fucking avocado and beans all over their face. That shit is disgusting. You go to the website for Taco Bell. This is how terrible this item is. In bold, all caps letters, underneath the name of the product, it says, "Sodium warning."
Are you serious?
I am serious. 2,060 calories in one of these things.
Damn.
And what's interesting is the technicality. They got all these other party packs that aren't nachos, where they'll sell you 6 hard tacos and 6 soft tacos, and there's no sodium warning because they apparently only have to do that because this is all in one single container. I guess it's considered a single item, and they're afraid people might sit down and eat all of this by themselves, which would be preferable to sharing it with anyone.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have.
I'm sorry. And listen, we've all eaten Taco Bell. We've all had nachos at Taco Bell. They did not come out looking anywhere near like the fucking picture.
No.
It comes out messy, half uncovered, and slip sliding all over it just feels like the worst idea ever. And yet they brought it back. So it must be selling. But I think it's disgusting. Yeah. I would rather. Never mind. Let's not even go any further than that.
There you go.
I think it's disgusting.
I'm glad you pumped the brakes there. Glad you pumped the brakes.
I don't know where this rant's gonna go. But
that's always a good sign.
I think the main thing I want to talk about is conspiracy theories. The idea that there was this cabal that stole the election for the Democrats in the United States, and the main thing for me is like, no matter what you hear in public from Donald Trump and his lawyers, they're not saying that same thing in the courtroom. and they're not proving it. They're not saying, here's the proof that we have. And when you go down conspiracy theories, the horrible drain that is a conspiracy theory, you start thinking, well, there's got to be one other level to this. There's got to be another level to this. Nothing's ever going to satisfy you because you're going to just keep on hearing stuff that you don't want to hear. So there's got to be some other thing that's out there. And in this case, it's, they're playing 4D chess. They're going into these courtrooms and they're not presenting the evidence because then they'll get to the Supreme Court and then that's when they'll drop the hammer. That's not how they work. That's not how courts work. You want to go into the first court and you want to win. You want to be able to go into that court and go, this is my evidence and this is what we know is going on. And you want to get a favorable ruling from that first judge, because the more times you get rejected, the harder it is to get into a higher court to like get them to actually agree with you and everything. And they're getting stuff just dismissed. Mm-hmm. And so you keep getting this whole, like, there's a bigger plan involved. There's a bigger plan. And like, yeah, they're just waiting. They're just waiting. As someone I said this on the show many times, as someone who believed in the JFK conspiracy theory for a very long time, every time someone would say, well, what about this? You would always divert down to, well, it's the media that's like covering it up, or it's they have the power to do that and everything. And a lot of times you have to end up just going, there's no way they could have kept all of this secret. There's no way that they could have done all of this, without there being like, well, that's why all these people keep getting killed and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not as complex as you think it is. And if you have proof that there's something that's been going on, especially with thousands of election workers, there's no way there isn't like emails and there's not all sorts of like evidence that says this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it and everything. There's no way there isn't that type of stuff. Yeah. And I feel sorry for people who believe this type of stuff.
They're the problem.
Yeah.
The person that perpetrates the untruth is culpable, but the people that believe it, especially blindly, those are the real problem.
Yeah.
You can have a demagogue that says anything. You can have Kim Jong-il say that he got 16 aces on golf and shot a 38, and then he retired from golf for forever. And whatever, that's objectively stupid. But the people that believe him are the problem, and I think that's what we're getting into here. When you hear people interviewed of like, yeah, obviously the media stole this from us, and they've got proof. They said they've got proof, so they got proof. And I'm like, God damn, really? And that's not even possible.
I mean, it's a lot of it is spun out from, to paraphrase Al Gore, from inconvenient truths, right? Like I feel like a lot of Trump supporters were positive he was going to crush this election and win by a landslide. So when he did not, there has to be some explanation for why, because it's too inconvenient a truth to believe that he just didn't get the votes. They have to have been stolen. And so that's where the conspiracy theories start. And then every layer of proof that comes under that creates another layer of conspiracy underneath, to where a lot of it now just gets waved away by simple phrases like deep state, and people don't even know what the fuck they're saying.
Right.
But this goes beyond politics too. I mean, there are cults of some cults of religion. There are flat Earth conspiracy theorists. There are still people that think Tupac is alive very vehemently. There were people that thought JFK Jr. was still alive, legitimate people on social media, and he was going to come out at the Republican convention and replace Pence as Trump's running mate. So it's
sounds perfectly reasonable.
I think it's a lot of echo chamber. Yeah, I think it's a lot of echo chamber in what I will call not well-informed areas of the world, where you only get your information. Man, I was a kid And I remember feeling like, man, the media is liberal against Republican George Bush. Why are they always so mean to him? They were mostly just being critical of a president. But my worldview, and warped by those around me, was that, well, the media is liberal against Republicans. Fox News is the only station that is true. And that is, to my current state of mind, mathematically hilarious that I was able to convince myself every single media outlet except for one is the bad guy and warped against us. But that one is the only one telling the truth. I don't know how you get there, but I used to be there. And I can only explain that the more I met people and the more I educated myself, both literally at college and socially and with the arts, the further I grew away from that belief system that allowed me to believe what I think is a conspiracy, that the 99% of the media is against Republicans. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I recently went through The Vow, watched all of that, and same sort of thing there, kind of where you have this idea this person is doing great things, and so I've been helped by this person, so let's take the next step. And he says it's hard, but we'll keep doing it because it's hard and all this. And then of course, that guy uses that power to make a sex cult, because that's what you do when you have that kind of power over people, and you're always constantly knocking them down and telling them that they're not doing enough, and so on and so forth. And I was sitting there going, my God, this is the same sort of deal we've got going on with politics. It feels like. The deep state thing, that's another thing. Like, I'm sitting there going, you think these people are that powerful and yet they don't have everything that they want? How is that possible?
They're lying in wait for the right moment. Apparently this wasn't it.
Yeah, exactly. If they really wanted everything that they wanted, then, Texas would have turned blue and they would have gotten all the House of Representatives and the senators and everything else. And in the end,
I wish there was a deep state.
Oh my God.
Sounds like an awesome place, man.
In the end, if you actually sit there and go through this entire thing, you sit there and go, man, that's just all that work just for that. I would be disappointed in my returns.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if sure we do have listeners out there that will tune me out when I say this, but if you ever are in a situation where you're like, but what about this? And then what about that? And then somebody keeps giving you answers that are, they keep giving you answers and you keep going down another level to say, well, what about this and that? You're in a conspiracy theory.
Especially when direct contrary proof is wiped away. Just flatly ignored as like, well, if you were to say, here's a statistic from blah, blah, blah. Well, the other side controls that website or that government or that right. agency or whatever. Just wipe away facts and continue plowing forward. That's conspiracy theory.
Yeah. So,
and not even the good Mel Gibson, Julia Roberts kind.
God, that movie should have been so much better. It had so much promise, and it was just kind of a C+.
Yeah, it's not unwatchable.
No, it's not.
But it's not good.
But it's not good.
I just keep thinking about Mark Whitaker at the end of The Informant when he's like sitting there trying to come up with that next lie with Scott Bakula, and Bakula keeps coming up with all the he's running Mark into a dead end, and then finally he's like, Mark, you need to stop lying. And then he gets back into that, like, but what about the doctor and what about this and what about that and then finally he just shuts down and just goes, all right, and just, I'm done now. I can't. It's too tiring to come up to keep this conspiracy theory alive. So do we have any recommends and warns?
Totes Amazeballs.
There, great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
Yeah, you guys got some. I know you do.
You got none?
I feel it.
You got none?
I see your bulge.
Oh,
no, I've got one. If you want me to start, I can start because it's fun.
Hit me.
Okay. So I watched the New Mutants last night.
New Mutants.
Ooh.
So this movie Was supposed to come out, in 2018?
That sounds right.
It was filmed in 2017. Feels like the first trailer I watched for this was a gazillion years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This was billed as kind of the horror alternative to the X-Men, the New Mutants. It takes place in the X-Men universe. Now, this is a very popular comic series. Jeremy, did you ever read New Mutants?
Nope.
Okay. I'm not familiar at all with any of these characters. At least with X-Men, I was familiar with Wolverine and Rogue and stuff like that, Professor X and Magneto. Not familiar with any of these. So it takes forever. Then it had the Disney-Fox merger, and that put it off even longer. Then it was supposed to come out this time. It was supposed to come out this time, blah, blah, blah. Pandemic hits. Finally, it comes out in theaters and also, I believe, on Amazon. And it's... to say it got panned would be nice. It currently sits at like a 5.3 on IMDb and 33% aggregate Rotten Tomatoes. The lowest of expectations going into this. But I like Maisie Williams. I love Anya Taylor-Joy. I really like the Stranger Kids thing, Charlie Heaton. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's also short. I'm going to give this a shot. Kind of liked it.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you say that again?
I kind of liked it.
Oh, all right.
It's listen. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. The dialogue is clunky. There's a lot of what the fuck, how did that happen? How did this happen? That kind of thing. But it's an insular story. It literally takes place in two sets. And really one is just at the beginning of the movie. It's casually diverse. There's a nice queer love story happening in the middle of this that's very authentic. It's got, honestly, good to great performances from Maisie Williams and Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy plays against type completely in this movie. She plays a Russian ne'er-do-well that is her nickname is Magic, and she can do all kinds of things. She can teleport. She can do a sword on her arm. She's a badass, and she's very outgoing. She's bitchy. It's very different from what I've seen her play before. Maisie Williams plays the most adorable character I've seen in a long time. She's kind of head over heels in love with this new girl that comes in, a Cheyenne Native American. Again, very casually diverse here. Cheyenne Native American Moonstar, nickname Mirage, that comes in, and she's our proxy of the exposition and everything. And the effects are generally terrible until the end. The end effects, I think, are pretty good. The story's clunky. There's only 6 people in there. It looks like it was a Joe Swanberg horror film. But I had a good time with it. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the repartee between the two. There's a scientist, evil scientist lady, played by Alice Braga, that's very good, and it zooms along. I think there's a really good movie in here, but overall it was enjoyable. Chris, did you ever watch this?
I have not seen it yet. No.
It is. And I believe Jonathan and Aaron, our colleagues, said that it's by far not the worst X-Men film. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you've got the Wolverine, you've got X-Men Origins Wolverine,
yeah,
you've got
Deadpool. I'm just kidding.
You've got Apocalypse, you've got Dark Phoenix. This is probably not nearly as good as like First Class or even the first round of X-Men, but it's better than Last Stand, I think. And I enjoyed myself. It's not gonna get my dick hard or anything like that, but like it's gonna.
But
I'm gonna enjoy myself for an hour and a
review has gotten mine hard, Barrett.
Wow,
I'm serious. I think this is worth a watch for people that are especially interested in X-Men. If you're a fan of the comics, apparently Anya Taylor-Joy's character is very similar to the Magic character, Ilyana Rasputin. So yeah, I it's not a full rate. It's a wreck of Warren, I guess. But like, I had a good time. I'll probably watch it again.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised. I mean,
is that right?
Huh?
I honestly thought that this was going to be abysmal, like Dark Phoenix abysmal and Apocalypse abysmal, but it wasn't.
Yeah, those movies have a different kind of working level of abysmal, right? Like the movie is too big. There's just too much going on all at once.
Yeah.
Like it gives you a headache watching it because there's so many characters, so many like ridiculous like objects flying around the screen. There's like all sorts of bullshit going on in those movies. Whereas New Mutants seems a little bit smaller. So its general fuck upness or whatever, its horribleness isn't on as big of a scale as those movies. So yeah, there you go.
It's a horror movie. There's a lot of flatliners in it. There's a little bit of Breakfast Club in it. I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Okay.
All right.
I'll give it a shot.
All right.
I'll give it a shot.
I want to talk about a movie that is from 2006. I think I've mentioned it before, but I don't think it was an official. I don't think we were doing recommends and warns at that point. But it's called The Hoax, and it stars Richard Gere and Alfred Molina. Specifically, I want to pitch this as a double feature with The Aviator, because The Hoax is about Richard Gere, an author who's got a book about to be published. He's celebrating. He goes to a party and finds out the book is not going to be published. The publishers decided to pass, and he's mad. He's angry. And he storms into the conference room and says, my next book is going to be the greatest book ever, and you're going to be sad that you didn't get to cite it, blah, 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 blah. And in the first few minutes of this movie, you're really not sure what to make of Richard Gere. But if you hang on, it's a hell of a performance. He's buddies with Alfred Molina, another struggling writer. There's a very telling scene early on when they're on a plane to just get away for a while in the Bahamas. And Richard Gere says to Molina, you're an outstanding researcher and a fine writer. And you can tell it breaks Alfred Molina's heart to hear that backhanded compliment. But they're friends. They get kicked out of their hotel in the middle of the night because Howard Hughes has decided to come stay in their hotel. This is taking place in the Nixon presidency, so 70s. And they're pissed at first, like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? And then he's reading a Life magazine on the plane on the way back about Howard Hughes and concocts this idea that he met Howard Hughes while he was in the Bahamas. And he goes to sell a biography of Howard Hughes to his publisher. And of course, they're fucking salivating. And he basically gets them nibbling. And so off they go. They find this one obscure guy who worked in aviation who's still alive. They go to his house. Turns out he's got oodles of written documents and correspondence about Howard Hughes. And they're like, all right, he's reclusive. Nobody has seen him in years, except for one or two close handlers. This is all real information about him. This is going to work. We're going to write this biography about Howard Hughes without ever having met the man. And the story basically just goes from there. There are a few times where the publisher questions them. There's another biography of Howard Hughes that is announced by a different publisher, and they're like, what the fuck? He goes so far as to forge letters. There's this awesome scene where they're trying to create audio tapes that they can use as resource materials, but they don't have any for real. And so Richard Gere starts out, he's listening to Howard Hughes, and Howard Hughes is testifying before Congress, and he says things in a very certain way. And Richard Gere says things in starts imitating him, and he walks over to the microphone and he starts telling a story on the recorder about my father. They called him Big Frank, blah, 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 blah. And by the end of it, he fucking is Howard Hughes in that moment. And like, Alfred Molina's like, Jesus Christ, man. And it's just about how far one man is willing to go to try and prove something that isn't really true in the first place, that he deserved to be a famous author. And of course, The Aviator is Leo DiCaprio playing Howard Hughes. I think it would make an excellent pairing. But it's a great performance by Gere. In the end, he fucks over everyone except himself. This is based on a true story. This guy served time in prison. And I watched it once, I think several years ago, and liked it enough to mention it on the podcast, but I've actually come across it twice in the last couple of weeks and watched it all the way through both times. Hope Davis is in this. This is Lasse Hallström, the director who did Cider House Rules and Chocolat.
Yeah.
And it's like an 8.6 Rotten Tomatoes, 86%, I think, something like that. And I recommend it. That's a full-throated recommend right there.
Yeah, I saw this movie when it came out, and if you had asked me what it was about, I totally would have not been able to come up with the story or anything.
It is on Hulu. And it would also make a good double feature with that Hayden Christensen movie.
Oh, Shattered Glass.
Yeah, where he's basically a fake writer. Those be good two double features.
Barrett just called it Paper Glass.
Paper Glass.
Hey, I saw The Aviator once, and I forgot all about it. Remind me what Howard Hughes' deal is. He's just rich, and he wanted to fly planes.
Rich, eccentric.
Wanted to make movies too. He made movies as well.
He wanted to do everything. You could call him fairly an egomaniac, I think. And then he just got sick. His germophobia turned into a mental illness to where he went out of his mind. There's The Simpsons.
Yeah, my God, it's one of the funniest ones ever.
Parodies this. I think it's the casino episode.
It is.
Where Burns is steadily growing his fingernails out and his hair long, and he's concocting a plane called the Spruce Goose or Spruce Goose.
Yes, the Spruce Goose.
It is. Yeah, I think you could call him.
Goose.
Well, one of them's the real.
Because Howard Hughes did the Spruce Goose, I believe, and this is the Spruce Goose that they made.
Yeah. Anyway, he was Hughes wanted to build a plane big enough to carry other planes, but that plane was built out of wood, and it was a physics concern for quite a while. But he's portrayed in the film as being very eccentric and insistent. Like he would come out and say those rivets need to be flush, and they'd be like, oh. So they have to rebuild the whole plane, and they do, and they come out, and he rubs his hands along what are very clearly flush rivets, and he goes, they need to be more flush, and he walks off, and they're like, what the fuck? What am I going to do? So that's the kind of guy that he is portrayed to be in the film. But certainly by reputation, if you take the evidence in this Hoax movie as well, he was considered a very eccentric billionaire who late in his life was a germaphobe that didn't want to see anyone.
Gotcha. Interesting.
That Simpsons has one of my favorite all-time gags in it because he builds the Spruce Moose or Spruce Goose, whatever it is, and it's this tiny model plane that he's built, and so there's this idea that he's going to build a bigger plane or whatever, and then at the point where Mr. Burns wants to get back to the nuclear plant and everything, he's like, come on, Smithers, hop in to the Spruce Goose. And Smithers looks down at the plane and he's like, but sir, and Burns pulls out a gun and like cocks it, and he's like, I said hop in.
And yeah, Hughes's was the goose. That means Burns's was the moose.
Yep. Before I get into the movie that I'm going to talk about, what do you guys remember about the trailer for Antebellum? What do you guys remember what that movie was about when you saw the trailer? Did you have the idea you knew what it was about?
I'm not sure I saw the trailer.
I saw the trailer and no, there was a lot of plastered, produced by Jordan Peele and stuff like that. Janelle Monáe.
I did see that trailer.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't get a sense at all of what it was about.
I didn't quite know what I was going to watch. I know that it sort of came and went as far as a streaming, like it came out on streaming services. It was supposed to be a theatrical release, I think in February or March of this year. Maybe even April, probably April, because it would have come out in February. But I didn't quite know what I was getting into, but I knew enough of that trailer that I hate going into a movie and watching it about 10 minutes in. I know what they're doing. I know what the thing is that they're doing. And so this becomes a wreck of Warren. I don't know if it's because the trailer tipped me off, or if it was just I just had that ease. Just I was like, oh man, this is exactly what's going to happen in this. But I think you can. I'm going to try to talk about this movie without spoiling it. But Janelle Monáe is on a plantation. There seems to be an escape kind of brewing, is what everybody seems to be wanting to, like, trying to figure out a way to escape from this place. And there's a point where, and I think that Janelle Monáe is sort of she's one of the, like, a concubine type of slave that they have on the fields and everything. And so there's this, like, she's well known in this community. Everybody tries to try to talk to her secretly, and like, I know who you are. We need to make our escape soon, and blah, 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 blah. And, I don't think it's giving too much. I don't know if it's giving too much away. And I'm trying to debate I don't want you to, like, have to cut all of this out, but I'm trying to think of how to describe this movie without messing up anything that you might be surprised about. Because I think what I thought when I saw the trailer was that there were, if I even talk about what I think this movie was about, it's going to give away the what they're trying to do in this. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't talk about this movie. Because it's impossible to talk about it without giving it away. And maybe it never was a surprise. I don't know. If you go to the IMDb, you can see images. You may still be going, wait a minute, why is there modern day and why is there, like, the 1800s in this too? Why is there modern day in the 1800s? So
it's the Village.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fucking Village, man. This movie is the fucking Village.
That's not even creative. I wasn't creative when M. Night did it.
That's why I don't know if it's that much of a surprise. If you go to the IMDb, you'll see Janelle Monáe as this motivational speaker, author type person. And you see, you see her life. And she's married, she has a kid. And she goes on these talks. She's got a couple of friends. Gabourey Sidibe is one of them. I don't know I don't know who the other person is that's her friend, but you start seeing characters from the 1800s that show up in her modern day. So it's like Jenna Malone shows up and she wants to interview her for this big opportunity. You saw Jenna Malone in the 1800s though, and she was like an evil fucking bitch in the 1800s. And so you're like, okay, how does this relate to what's going, like, there's something going on here, but I knew this within the first 10 minutes. That's where they were going. It just seemed too obvious. That's where they were going. In that the fact that they are basically being interviewed and then kidnapped, to be slaves on this plantation that they're keeping secret from everybody. So that spoils it. And then when you spoil it, what do you say about the movie? It looks great. The performances are great. But I don't know if there's any reason to tell people, hey, watch this movie, because you're going to pick out the surprise in the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Jordan Peele didn't direct this.
No, he's an executive producer, I think. It's Gerard Bush and Christopher Renz.
MC Ren?
Yeah, MC Ren. Christopher Renz, he's done some videos. Yeah. What do you think? Should we cut that out completely?
No, I think it's fun.
I
think it's fun too.
So it's got a 28 on Rotten Tomatoes, so I don't think there's like a salivating audience out there.
I know that this was panned. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what the critics were saying. I did see the IMDb score, but it's the fucking Village, man.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I mean, not awesome, but awesome.
You sit there and you're like watching it and you're going, I mean, even the way they're talking to each other, you're like, this, if this was the Village, this is exactly what they would say. They're trying to get their way around they're trying to get their way around the surprise by saying certain vague things, and you're sitting there going, why are you saying these vague things? There's no reason to say the vague things. Like when they say, I know who you are, and then they say, and one of them goes, this is not a situation. One of the people who comes up to her says, this is not a situation that I'm ready to be in or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's something like if you were in the Village, you would say that, because you have a modern day sensibility about this. It wasn't exactly like that, but it was something to that effect. She was like, I got to get out of here. I have a kid in North Carolina. And they keep saying that like they've got this life in North Carolina and whatever. They got this life somewhere else and whatever. And so you just sort of got to get this idea that, yeah. And then like when Janelle Monáe like goes to bed with one of the dudes there's the way they transition is to transition to the modern day is she lies down and then you hear a phone ring. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I actually thought that the phone was ringing at the plantation. That's how, sure I was that this was, but they go to the modern day and she's lying next to her husband. And so it tries to keep you off guard by saying, okay, so now this is the modern day, but this is Janelle Monáe in the modern day. You know, like it's almost like they're trying to do like, is this dead again? Are they trying to do something where it's like, one of those type of things where it's reincarnation or something like that? The modern day folks are going to get back at the people that oppressed them in the 1800s and everything. Are they going to get that? No, they are them. They are the same. That this is all of it's the modern day.
So the Recca is how it looks and how the performances are, but the Warren is everything else.
And that there are people like this out there that probably would want to do something like this. There are probably people out there who would want to do this because, if you hear once the cat is out of the bag in this whole thing, and they start and you have the people who run the plantation start talking freely, you're like, oh, okay. Okay, so you want it? Okay, you. This is based on some real people. Then I get you. And that's how they get to it. And like, yeah, it's actually like fun to watch in a way, but it's also if you know for a fact what's going to happen, almost everything just falls flat at that point because you know where it's going. So there's no tension there. There's no like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. Maybe some people out there are like that. Maybe, I mean,
not after this.
No, not after this. Not if they listen to me, but there might be people out there who don't listen to us, and who are those people? There's nobody like that out there. There will be people out there who don't have any idea what's going on. They're going to be confused when it goes to the modern day. They're going to be like, what happened? What's going on? I've watched many movies with people like that over the years. I remember watching, was it to go from Antebellum to Good Luck Chuck?
There you go.
I remember there's a scene, there's like an early scene in the movie where Dane Cook, I think he's got like, and it could be a number of Dane Cook movies that came out. It may not even be Good Luck Chuck for all I know. But I remember there's a point where he's got like a ring or something, or he got a ring out of a Cracker Jack box or something. It's something to do with a ring. And at the end, there's a big like airplane sequence where he runs on the airplane to go get, I think it's Jessica Alba. And he's like telling her that how much he loves her and everything. And I was watching this with a bunch of employees, and I was like, watch, he's going to bring out the ring. And he pulls out the ring. And a bunch of people were like, Chris, God, you spoiled it. Blah, blah, blah. Seriously. And I was like, are you serious? You couldn't see that coming?
And that's why we have 9 Fast and Furious movies.
That's true.
That's right.
That's very true.
That's right.
All right, guys, it's time to talk about Mubi.
Mubi!
It's been a while. Been a while since we've been able to talk about Mubi, but we're talking about Mubi again. And bam, there's some good shit, as always, on Mubi. Right? I saw a Western called The Hellbenders.
Oh, yeah?
Excellent title.
Yeah. I think here it might have a different name. The Cruel Ones is what it's called. I think here in America, it is one of those spaghetti Westerns where you have... I need to learn more about this because I don't know if it's Italian directors coming over here to shoot Westerns or if they were shooting them over in Italy and then, whatever.
Leo DiCaprio had to fly all the way to Italy to make his in
Once Upon a Time. That's probably what it is then. That's probably what it is then. It's directed by Sergio Corbucci. And the music is by Ennio Morricone, but he's going under his like pseudonym in this one. Like it's Leo Nichols, I believe, is what he's going by in this. Like when I read the synopsis, it was like music by Ennio Morricone, and then the credits came up and it was like Leo Nichols, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? But yeah, that's a name that he used a couple of times for some of his movies. Anyway, it is about this group, this small gang of I guess like former Confederate soldiers, or at least the father was part of the Confederacy. The Civil War is over at this point. But the main guy is played by Joseph Cotton, who you may who's a all timer, he has the idea that he's going to rob this stagecoach, this like 30-man stagecoach that has all this money that's going to be shredded, I guess, or whatever. He's going to steal that money, and he's got ideas, man. He's got ideas. He's going to take this money and he's going to create a new Confederate army, and he's going to take over the government and install a new one with this money.
Wow. Oh shit.
That's right. That's right. So once they acquire this money, the idea is that they are a family that is traveling across the country to bury somebody who died in the war, and they have a woman playing the widow who's not really a widow. And it's a bunch. It's Sky, and it's like 3 brothers, his 3 sons, and they keep running into obviously posses and cavalries and all these different things, and they always have to sort of talk their way out of whatever situation. But yeah, a very good movie. It's a very simple story to this whole thing. It's like, you know that these people are horrible and you don't want them to win, obviously. But it is interesting because you sit there and keep on wondering what's going to be their downfall? What's going to be their downfall? What's going to be their downfall? Because they get into a lot of shit in this movie. But it was very good. Joseph Cotton is really good. This is one of his latter day performances. He's a lot older at this point. This was 1967. And yes, that music by Ennio Morricone is unmistakably him. It's unmistakably him, especially in that era where he was making a lot of those for Sergio Leone as well, and everything. But
were they all Sergio?
What?
The Italian spaghetti Western directors, are they all named Sergio?
It seems like it, right? The Sergio Leone and Sergio Corbucci. I think there might have been maybe one other Sergio.
I think even the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood guy they name, like the second most popular director of Italian spaghetti Westerns, I think he's a Sergio something.
Oh yeah, this might be that guy. Actually,
it might actually be that.
Might be the guy they're talking about. But it's really good, and like I said, very simple. Just well, it's definitely one of those that's well worth watching and well worth getting the service, which you can get for free for a while. So,
That's right.
So,
that's right. Yeah. All you have to do is go to Mubi.com/Cinemasins. You get 30 days free. That's 30 days free. That'll last you to almost the end of the year, people. let me tell you a couple of good options on it. All right, so they got the 30-day lineup where a new movie is added, a new film is added every day, right? And a lot of times the ones that are replaced, they go to a library, and they've got a great library. It's fantastic. It's chock full of great stuff. And so there's a hole in my cinematic heart that I'm embarrassed about. And it's Charlie Chaplin.
Oh,
I have very rarely seen any Chaplin. I've seen the movie Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr., but that doesn't count.
Yeah, although Downey's awesome as Chaplin in that.
He
movie.
is.
Downey is awesome. Didn't win, but was nominated for
yes,
Oscar, right? So they have the 1917 classic, The Immigrant, on the library right now. And so I just decided I'm going to immerse myself. It's a shortish film, silent film, about 24 minutes or so. I wanted to immerse myself in Charlie Chaplin, and this is one of his iconic performances. He is playing, you get to that in a second, he's playing an immigrant coming over from Europe in the height of World War I, and coming to Ellis Island and figuring out how to live in America. And it's done all silently. It's done all with physical comedy. As he's coming through, the boat is rocking, and he's doing his Charlie Chaplin dancing, where he's trying to keep up. He's trying to eat food, but the bowl keeps sliding, and he gets a taste, and then it slides to the guy across from him, and he gets a taste, and then it slides back to him, and he finds this woman who's taking care of her mom, and he befriends her, and they go to a restaurant once they get to America. And it's just the Goes Wrong show that we just talked about fairly recently, British comedy that is chock full of physical comedy. That's really where they mine the most laughs, I think. There's clever wordplay, but they really mine the physical comedy. Scrubs, we were talking about at some point, physical comedy. Nobody ever has done physical comedy like Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
And you can see way back in 1917 the ground that he was breaking in this, and it still resonates today. Now, the message, interestingly, is how immigrants were treated in 1917 as they were coming in, especially if they had no money, especially if they had no contacts, that kind of thing, that resonates today, people. There's a shot. And I've always, when I've been to the Statue of Liberty a couple of times, I've always imagined myself in a Vito Corleone type of situation, or the situation that Charlie Chaplin is in. When you've made that journey across the Atlantic and you see the Statue of Liberty as you're pulling into America, it has to give you chills. And they allow, even though this is a broad farce and comedy, they allow that moment to happen. And it's pretty beautiful. So I would totally recommend The Immigrant. For that alone, sign up for Mubi, watch that, watch the Hellbenders or the Cruel Ones that Chris recommended. There's also a Danish movie that I really want to get into at some point. I'll save that for another time, called Queen of Hearts. That's spectacular. Go to Mubi.com. God, it feels good to say this again. Go to Mubi.com/Cinemasins. What you're going to get, people, 30 days, Trio, free.
Damn, it feels good to go to Mubi.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, come on. What do you have to lose? Go to Mubi.com, Mubi.com/Cinemasins. You are going to bathe in the cinematic goodness. You're going to wash your hair with it. It's going to be scented. There's going to be bubbles, and you're going to soak it in through your pores, and you're going to be happy. You're going to be relaxed. You're going to be enjoying it. Go to Mubi.com/Cinemasins. 30 days, 10 years, 30 days, free. Do it now.
Okay, so we're going to do a casting of a movie that came out 25 years ago called Apollo 13.
I watched part of this yesterday.
You watched this yesterday?
I watched a good chunk of this yesterday.
It is fantastic. It is probably still my favorite Ron Howard movie.
Yeah, mine too. Except for Far and Away.
Yeah, Far and Away. I mean, nothing beats that. But yeah, we're gonna recast it. As we have been known to do over the years, recast movies that are perfectly fine and don't need to be recast. But if we were to do it, who would we put in all the different roles? Who wants to start?
Well, part of this is the 25-year anniversary of Apollo 13. And interestingly enough, I mean, when we saw this in 1995, I wasn't familiar with the story of Apollo 13. Were you guys?
No.
I mean, it was 1969, something like that.
In the 70s. It was 1970. 1970.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was 25 years removed.
I was
from that.
When did the Beatles break up, Barrett? Because the daughter is upset about that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I was well aware of the Houston We Have a Problem, though, long before I knew anything about Apollo 13. I think I had learned more about the one that caught fire before it launched than I did the Apollo 13.
Yeah.
So the movie was really my first education.
So it was 25 years or so before the movie came out, and we didn't know anything about it. And so it's now been 25 years, and I bet you a lot of our listeners maybe haven't seen the movie or not familiar with the story. Not to mention that we were planning on doing this last week. SpaceX just launched their first operational mission last week with astronauts going up to the ISS, and it was maybe like the 25th top story in the news that day. Now, obviously, there's stuff going on, but that's a gigantic feat. It was a rocket launched on American soil from SpaceX with, I think it's 5 American crew members and 1 Japanese crew member going up to do operational stuff on the ISS. And it seems like people are just not interested in space anymore. After Apollo 13, Tom Hanks partnered with, I think, Ron Howard again, right, to do From the Earth to the Moon?
Brian Grazer.
Okay.
Well, then that's basically Ron Howard.
Right, exactly.
It's with his Imagine Entertainment and everything, probably.
Yeah, and Hanks got really into space stuff for a long time, probably still is. And I'm fascinated with it. So that was kind of the impetus of this, the 25th anniversary. And let's get back to space. So, all right. So this movie stars Tom Hanks and Kevin Bacon and Bill Paxton as the astronauts in Apollo 13. So I'll start there with my recasting of modern day actors. Now, listen, these are based on real people. They were all white. They were mostly dudes. So I apologize if we're not more diverse. This is just kind of mapping on to the real people here. So Jim Lovell, who was the mission command in the spaceship, the Tom Hanks character, the Houston We Have a Problem, great performance. I'm picking Bill Hader, and the reason that I'm picking Bill Hader is that Tom Hanks, heretofore, before 93 was Philadelphia, 94 was Forrest Gump, and then this. But before that, man, it was almost all comedy. It was almost all comedy, and he was hilarious. He was great. He was charismatic. We didn't know he had a dramatic side, really, until Philadelphia. The one that he did with Jackie Gleason, I forget the name of it. Nothing.
Turner and Hooch.
Yeah, Turner and Hooch.
Yes. Showed a little bit of dramatic chops. But by this point, he had already won 2 Academy Awards in a row and fully converted from comedy to seriousness. Bill Hader, I think, could totally do that, especially based on his performance in Barry. So, yeah, Bill Hader. Well, you guys all right with that?
Yeah,
it's not
like
bad
that.
with Jim Lovell?
I like that.
Jack Swigert is going to be the Kevin Bacon character that gets replaced. He is the replacement for Ken Mattingly late in the mission prep. So Kevin Bacon, the guy, I'm going to pick a slimmed down Channing
Yep.
That was accidental.
No, it wasn't.
Right.
Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum. He's cut. He's swole. We got to slim him down a little bit so he can fit through all those little hatches and stuff. And I think he's got some real ass chops, man. So Channing Tatum is going to be my Jack Swigert. Fred Hayes, the Bill Paxton character, who thinks he has the clap. Is that what it is?
No, it's the flu. The
flu.
He there's a point where he says, "I think Swigert gave me the clap."
Oh, okay. All right, there we go. That's what I was remembering.
By the way,
anyway,
even back in 1970, somebody even possibly has the flu. They don't let him fly, and they do social distancing and everything in this movie.
And exactly, and of course, Ken Mattingly was exposed to some measles strain too, and that was why he couldn't go.
I also love there's a part in the beginning of this movie, where it's right at the beginning, and he's driving in his Corvette with his wife, and a car pulls up next to him, and the guy's like, "Hey, aren't you Jim Lovell?" And it makes me laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh, like anyone would ever pull up alongside the astronaut of the 13th Apollo mission and recognize him by sight at night.
Hey, they were popular back then.
Indeed.
Half the point of the movie is that they were no longer popular. People weren't watching anymore.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Fred Hayes, Bill Paxton character, I'm going to go with Simon Pegg, and there's a reason for this. First of all, I think he matches up physically to what Fred Hayes would be, but also Simon Pegg can do a dope-ass American accent. We saw him in that Inheritance movie. Is that what that was called?
I believe that.
That he did a phenomenal American accent. So I think he can do this. Got a little Southern twang to it, but I think he can. Gene Kranz, flight commander down on the mission control. Chris Evans, baby. Who's more authoritative than Chris Evans? Now, Ed Harris was perfect. I mean, perfect for this role. I mean, he's stoic. He is authoritative. He is like, get this shit done. I don't care for your excuses. Just get it done. I think Chris Evans could pull that off. I think he's one of the few in Hollywood that commands that sort of attention in this generation. Ken Mattingly, the poor Gary Sinise that is trapped in a simulator for 15 hours or however long it was, probably longer.
Not in real life.
Do what?
I don't think that's real.
No, it didn't. I mean, it's wonderfully satisfying in the movie when they are problem solving and they figure that out. And you gotta think that in real life, when they were practicing all these scenarios before the rocket went up, by the way, that was sort of how they came about that type of thing. And I don't know how excited they were about that, but yes, all of that stuff that Ken Mattingly does towards the end, where it's like, oh my God, are they going to figure out how to switch the power from the LEM to the main ship and all that? And he comes up with that perfect way to do it. It's so beautiful in the movie. But yeah,
it's so great. He's like, he keeps flipping switches, and he's like, we're still under. And he keeps flipping the other one. We're still under.
Yeah.
And then he gets it, and you can see the relief. You can see the relief.
So great, and it
absolutely wash over him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when he radios Apollo, he's like, "That's a Roger. I don't have the measles."
yeah.
And they're like, "Fuck."
Yeah, and they show the
But
doctors.
anyway, if he weren't on the ground, at least in the movie's context, they would be fucked because he was the only one. He's like, "Did they have this?" And they're like, "No." Then I don't have this. That kind of thing. So anyway, Gary Sinise, his character Ken Mattingly, played by Jason Bateman, who I think can kind of do that serious Gary Sinise type of delivery. Gary Sinise is a very individual actor. I can't tell if he's good or not, but I think he is. But I think Jason Bateman can pull off that role.
Yeah, Sinise comes from a stage background and everything. But yeah, he never had that one. Like, I mean, Forrest Gump might be his. He'll always be remembered for that Lieutenant Dan performance. But like, I know what you're saying. There's never been that one where you're just like, oh my God, Gary Sinise just knocks it out of the park here.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Plus, his face is all fucked up. Like
What?
he's got a fucked up face.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
Marion Lovell, Jim's wife, who is played beautifully by Kathleen Quinlan, showing that she knows what she signed up for.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, she's a loving wife, she's a great mom, but like she knows how shit goes.
Mhm.
I'm going to put Elizabeth Olsen in there.
Okay. Yeah.
She needs to get back to doing some prestige acting because she's too good to just do Scarlet Witch over and over.
I agree.
Again, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Hayes. That's right. I cast Fred's fucking wife.
Mhm.
Tracy Reiner played her. It's going to be Kate McCucci, and I could
Okay.
totally
All
see
right.
Kate McCucci and Simon Pegg getting it out.
Yeah, totally. They're getting it
Henry
on right
Hurt.
now.
The spokesperson for NASA that comes out and gives the press updates, Henry Hurt, who is played by the inimitable Xander Berkeley,
Yes.
is going to be Corey Stahl.
Yeah, and this is Corey Stahl's a good pick. This is one person that they made up for the movie.
Yeah, right. He's an amalgam of a bunch of different NASA employees.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
He's like Morgan Freeman in The Sum of All Fears.
He's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Morgan Freeman.
It looks exactly like him. Corey Stahl, I think he could totally pull that off. Deke Slayton,
Mhm.
the great J.J. Abrams appendage, Greg Grunberg, is
Yeah.
going to be Deke Slayton.
There you go.
The man who is behind the man who's behind the man.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Grunberg, by the way, as a quick aside, has a family member, I think a son with epilepsy. When I was working in neurology, he did a lot for the Epilepsy Foundation to raise a lot of money. So he's a good dude. And I like that he's in all these J.J. Abrams projects, even if it's just to blow up in an X-Wing. And the last one, yes, I did cast Jim's mom, who says that if they put a washing machine in space, my Jimmy could land it.
Yeah.
That's right. Gene Spiegel Howard played her. And Lynn Shay, friend of the show,
Perfect.
Lynn Shay,
Perfect.
is
Yeah.
going to play Jim's mom.
Did you
who talks
cast
to
the
Buzz.
son that's at military school watching? He doesn't have a line.
That's going to be Jacob Tremblay.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
right.
No, it's I love that scene where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin are talking to his mom and just calming her down, and she's like, "Fuck you, I'm calm."
Yeah.
He's gonna fucking land this shit.
Yeah.
And I've taken too long on mine, but that's my cast for Apollo.
Well, and especially too when he tells that story. When we did a Heart of the Movie episode, I talked about the one where the part in this movie where Lovell talks about how he sees the algae when he doesn't have the lights and everything. And he says, if it wasn't for the fact that his lights didn't go out, he'd never have seen something like that. And he's like, you never know what's going to get you home. And it's it's him basically talking to his family because his family's watching the TV and basically giving them a message, a pre-recorded message, essentially saying, don't worry about this. I've got this. I went to Wikipedia and started looking up all these real dudes and looking up what they looked like and everything. So a lot of these are like the closest thing that I could come to as far as what these actual astronauts looked like. And some, I'm sure that there are probably more apt actors for some of these, but I tried to get as close as I could. For Jim Lovell, I have Ryan Reynolds playing Lovell. I couldn't for the life of me really figure out, because Lovell is a good looking dude. He's like this is exactly who you would picture as the head of a mission. And I stared into his eyes for a really long time, and I was like, who could play you? And Ryan Reynolds is finally who ended up coming to me on this.
A fine choice.
Yeah,
Did you ever see Life?
I did. I did see
the space movie.
I did.
He was in that, right?
Yes, he was.
what?
So was Jake Gyllenhaal.
Is it bad?
Just not good.
That's what I hear. Okay,
I hear it's your basics. It's your basic alien life in space. Yeah, bullshit.
All right.
For Jack Swigert, I have Topher Grace playing.
Nice.
If you look at if you look at pictures of Jack Swigert, they perfectly cast him with Kevin Bacon. He's absolutely Kevin Bacon. But I was sitting there trying to think who would be a good close second. And Topher Grace came to mind.
Good call.
For Fred Hayes, I have Billy Crudup playing him.
Billy
the Crudster.
Yeah, exactly. Crudster.
He's had a sneaky, really good career.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Mission Impossible, Watchmen. Like he's done some shit.
Yeah, man. He does. He definitely has. For Gene Kranz, I have Barry Pepper, and if you look at Gene Kranz, he's got a lot of Barry Pepper look to him. They cast Ed Harris, who's just a dynamo in Apollo 13. It would be hard for Barry Pepper to match Ed Harris for the intensity that he provides, especially when he's like, "God damn it, I don't want to hear any more fucking figures. I want to hear results and all that bullshit."
Mm-hmm. I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Pepper needs a little renaissance too, because he had a great late '90s, pretty good early 2000s, and I don't remember the last thing he's been in.
Yeah, I saw him in something recently, and I can't remember what it was. Something that came out recently. For Ken Mattingly, I have Matt Smith, who's one of the Doctor Who. If you look at Ken Mattingly's pictures, that was a tough one for a really long time. I was sitting there just like, who could it be that could? Because Ken Mattingly's like got this. He's bald, but he's got a different shape of a head that I'm not familiar. Like it makes it sound like I'm being like I'm bagging on him, but he's got a different shape to his head, and I'm sitting there going, what actor fits that? And there was one actor that came to mind, but he wasn't a name actor, and I didn't know what movie to look up and try to find I don't know that guy's name, but ended up on Matt Smith. For Marilyn Lovell, I have Katie Holmes.
Oh, nice.
If you
love Katie Holmes.
Yeah. If you look at actual pictures of Marilyn Lovell, she's got this sort of almost Jackie Kennedy kind of look to her. But if I think Katie Holmes would be perfect there. For Mary Hayes, I only found one picture of her, a couple of pictures of her, but Claire Foy is what came to mind for Mary Hayes.
Nice.
Didn't she play?
Yeah, she did.
Armstrong's wife in First Man.
In First Man, yeah.
Yeah,
she did.
Funny.
She did.
Nice.
She's awesome in that movie, by the way. Like
she is.
I mean, yes. I know what he's doing, but she almost steals the movie acting wise, I think.
Yeah,
I agree.
For Deke Slayton, I have John Slattery playing him.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Slattery.
That was what Chris Ellis played Deke Slayton, and he was in everything in the 90s, wasn't he?
Well, especially if it's connected to Tom Hanks, because he's in From the Earth to the Moon. He's in That Thing You Do. My bird dog and days are done.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. I love that guy.
Yeah.
For Henry Hurt, the Xander Berkeley character, I have Giovanni Ribisi playing.
Nice.
I think he would play the requisite oiliness that the press guy would do there. So Giovanni Ribisi would be perfect. And then for Jim's mom, Blanche Lovell, I have Mercedes Rule playing her.
Oh, she is. Oh,
yeah. She's like in her 70s. There were a lot of actresses that I thought of that were like 90 something years old, which is fine, but that's way older than even the actor that was playing Jim's mom.
Well, yeah, I mean, she looked, and I think they made her up to look super, super old, but the actress Jean Spiegel Howard was not old.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing when you look up some of these. I was like, what about this person? And they're like, wow, they're 95 and they're still alive. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah, there's my casting.
Gene Spiegel Howard, by the way, I thought about this, but I didn't look it up until now. She's Ron's mom.
That's what I figured when you said her name.
And Ron and Clint.
Well, yeah.
And
Bryce Dallas.
Dallas
That's a nepotism family.
Yeah, it is.
That's right. Anyway.
Nepotistic. All right. So for Tom Hanks, I am casting Chris Pine. It's interesting how we all have our own approaches. Chris looks at the pictures and I look at the ages. So I'm trying to get actors that are very close in age to what the original actors were when they played the part. I don't know why that's important to me, but it is.
He was about 39,
something like that, if I remember right. Yeah.
Who?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks was.
Well,
Tom Hanks.
Well, Hanks was 31. No, he was 30. No, he was 39. I think that's right. I think 39's right.
Is Chris Pine around there?
I think he's getting close.
Chris Pine is older.
Wow.
He's 40, I think.
I think he's 40.
Is that right?
He's 40 years old.
God damn, that boy is looking fine.
Yeah, he is.
I wish I looked that good.
For Kevin Bacon, I am casting Colin Hanks with a little bit of fun here.
Talk about nepotism.
This is the second time I've cast a son after the Skarsgård incident with Hunt for October.
Right.
For Bill Paxton, you notice I'm not saying the character names because why bother? Speaking of Skarsgård, I have Alexander Skarsgård in the Bill Paxton role here.
Oh, nice. He does not have the clap.
I think Swigert gave me the
clap. True. Yeah.
For Ed Harris's flight commander, I want John Hamm. A little bit more Mad Men in this.
That's
your
solid.
slattery. I feel like
that's a commanding.
Yeah,
presence.
John Hamm could, like, his FBI guy in the town could totally transition into this. Like, he's got that card. For Ken Mattingly, Gary Sinise doesn't get to go to space. I want Jesse Plemons. It's funny to you for some reason. Fine actor. All right. For Marilyn Lovell, Tom Hanks' wife, I'm going with Amy Smart.
Yeah.
With black hair? Oh.
Sure. It's a wig. For Fred Hayes' wife, I wrote Skip. No fucking clue.
Skip.
For Xander Berkeley's media guy, I want Kyle Chandler because Kyle Chandler has to be in everything.
Kyle Chandler would be that guy.
And the Chris Ellis, Deke Slayton guy, I want Matthew McConaughey to give me some of that Texas drawl.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's awesome.
And
I
then
love that.
For Jim's mom, I wrote, I can't believe you cast Jim's mom. I'm casting Jim Broadbent in protest. So,
oh no.
Jim Broadbent will play.
He's going to be sitting in the
Imagine that movie. It's like completely straightforward. And then suddenly Jim Broadbent comes in. Oh, my little strawberry.
I couldn't believe, like, every time we do one of these, Barrett adds like one or two names on the list that don't need to be cast.
The guy who said it's Enrico Palazzo in The Naked Gun. Let's recast that guy.
So,
I remember Jim's mom has a very memorable part in that movie.
So does the
washing machine
at military
landing.
school. I mean, you can see in his face the adolescent.
Actually, you know who'd be perfect for that is the It Kid, the masturbating Nazi.
From Knives Out, yeah.
Jalen Brown, Jaden Smith. Jadavion Clowney.
He changed his name.
Martell.
Jade Martell, the masturbating Nazi.
That's right.
Jesus Christ. I can't even see the track anymore. We're so far off the rails.
That was fun. I would watch all of those movies, by the way.
I would too.
You want to do a question or two?
Let's do one question.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I'm listening.
Hello, SinCast. Hello. I was wondering what your thoughts are on the Godfather 3 re-edit. More broadly, do you like the idea of directors going back and recutting movies that people generally did not like or were disappointed by?
No!
What do you guys think?
No. There are only a few circumstances where I think that recutting a movie is okay, and that is especially if there was a lot of studio interference and you knew for a fact that your cut of the movie would have been better, and the studio came in and said, fuck you, we're taking away the cut, and they cut it all to shreds and they come out with a movie and it bombs. That's the only way that I think that that you can do this. Are we saying that Francis Ford Coppola made a Godfather 3 that was awesome and it's lying on the cutting room floor somewhere? I'm very skeptical of that, by the way. Very skeptical. And especially if latter day Francis Ford Coppola going in there and going, you know what? I found all this amazing film that I shot 30 years ago that makes this movie a masterpiece all of a sudden. He keeps doing this with Apocalypse. Now he has made 3 or 4 different versions of that. I don't know which version that you really want to say is the definitive version, but all of them are fine. Yeah. All of them are really good. But none of them makes one. Yeah. None of them makes it better than the first one that you've seen. None of them.
That's true.
Like that director's cut's fun to watch, but it doesn't make it better than the first one that you saw. So like, so what does he cut out his daughter? Is that what he does, or does he get another actor to be Sofia Coppola in there? Because that's one of the big things that he has to do.
That is one of the big things. Godfather 3 was such a fucking disappointment on every level. I mean, the concept, and I guess they followed Puzo's story on this because he was a co-writer on it. But involving the church, involving Michael trying to get out and be completely legitimate, trying to reclaim his family, all of that appeals to me. Even Andy Garcia, as like the hot-headed hitman, doesn't turn me off or anything like that. But it was clunky, and I can't imagine Paramount, especially after the success of the first 2 movies, said to Coppola, hey, you need to cut this, or you need to include this, or anything like that. I mean, if they did, that's certifiably fucking insane. Now, studios can be certifiably fucking insane, but still, it's The Godfather, it's Francis Ford Coppola, and the movie is I can't say it's hot garbage because I've given it so many. It's like Cloud Atlas with you, Jeremy. I've given it so many chances and it doesn't connect, but I'm still going to keep watching it just to see if there's something there. And I don't even care about Sofia Coppola. Like, yeah, she's a bad actress. You know, whatever. You can get by with bad actresses in good movies or bad actors in good movies.
About digitally inserting someone else.
No. Of course. No, I totally
she's not the
that.
Reason why that movie is garbage. It's just the whole product.
Exactly. And the kind of incest thing is a little problematic too. But I did watch this trailer. It's subtitled "The Death of Michael Corleone." Coppola said that he rewrote a beginning and an end. The beginning and the end are not the fucking problem in this
How do you rewrite a movie that was made 40 years ago?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
What does that even mean? I rewrote the beginning.
You can't bring Pacino back.
They could have done that technology where they make them
de-agifying shit.
Yeah,
man. If you could take present day Pacino and film him, and a computer could make him look like young Pacino, I'd be impressed.
Well, they did that in The Irishman, at least with De Niro.
But he wasn't.
Still, the only problem is that once they did the de-aging. Yes, their face looked de-aged, but they still are 70-year-old men trying to do young things. So
they're moving around like they're 70-year-old men. Yeah. So, I mean, and interestingly enough, Talia Shire was aged up at the time to be, and actually even Al Pacino was a little aged up. But no, I don't think there's any way that you can do that. Maybe there's enough extra footage. I mean, he certainly shot a lot of film that he can redo it like
80s. Is this in the 80s?
This was 1990.
No, the story itself. Is it in the 80s? Or is it supposed to be?
Oh, that's a good question. No, because Godfather 1 and 2 are in the 50s. Late 40s, early 50s. and I think this is in the late 60s, early 70s. And I'm going off of the cars. The cars were old. Of course, they go to the Vatican quite a bit, and that's, timeless. But I think this is still in the late 60s, early 70s.
Not terribly far off, but still enough where they'd had to age the characters, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's been like 20 years or something like that, 25 years. So from the early 50s to maybe mid 70s. Anyway, I'll watch this because I'm a Godfather enthusiast, obviously. I personally am perfectly fine with a director doing whatever the fuck he or she wants to the cut of their movie afterwards. We don't have to watch it. And of course, you can't talk about this without bringing up Snyder and Justice League, Zack Snyder.
That's
and Justice
not even
League.
The same thing.
That's a whole other. Yeah, exactly. It ain't even the same fucking sport.
Yeah.
Ain't no fucking ballpark neither. So that not only is that a different movie because they spent $70 million on reshoots, it was the toxicity of that process that was the problem. If Zack Snyder just decided I'm gonna release my cut. I think I've got something. That's fine.
Was he gonna? If he'd stayed on that movie all the way through, was he gonna put out a 4-hour movie? Because I don't think he was. But now what he's gonna put out is a 4-hour movie. And he said the other day there's 2.5 hours of footage nobody's ever seen. So again, this is not a director's cut. That's a different thing altogether. And I think the one thing I want to mention is I feel like there's two kinds of this. The kind where time has healed wounds and a studio decides to give a director who didn't get final cut a chance to put out their final cut. This is what people who are supporting the David Ayer Suicide Squad cut are supposedly going for, that the studio stepped in too much on him, and I don't know that I buy that. But anyway, in those instances,
I kind of buy
I'm okay with those kind of director's cuts, and I think they should be relegated to bonus features on Blu-ray releases and not a big fucking deal, because the whole other angle of this, and I think it's about 90% of them, is just a cash grab. It's just a way to make more money. I guarantee you, I don't know about Coppola and Paramount and this Godfather 3, but I guarantee you a lot of these are just, hey, it's been a while. If we put this movie in theaters or put out a new DVD, we'll probably make $1 million. Well, see if this guy will do a new commentary for it and a recut for $20,000. I don't know. It just feels very commercialized, and it's very hard for me to give money to a studio for a director's vision that didn't have the balls to give me that director's vision the first time out.
Yeah, and in the case of The Godfather, I cannot imagine that it was studio interference that
not by
made
that point.
Movie what it was.
No, that's like saying the studio interfered with Lucas's prequels. No, nobody interfered, and that was the problem.
The other part of this too is don't make this version and not allow us to have the other version.
Yeah,
Which
to
is
speak of Lucas,
which is what they did with the original Star Wars. Which, while we're being very cynical about the cash grab, I'm really surprised that Disney hasn't released the original trilogies because of that very reason. Or Fox, when they had a chance to do it, that didn't do it. Although at that time, I think Lucas still owned the movie, so he probably was like, "No, I'm going to."
May still be a contract clause when he sold it to Disney that said they couldn't ever do it.
You think that they would just say that they have a contract that says they can't do it? We would have heard about that by now.
Maybe.
It's still possible, sure, but I don't like the idea also of, now Coppola does Godfather 3. Where is he going to stop there? Is he going to be like, all right, how about I do Godfather 1 and 2? And you said you were fine with this, Barrett. If they did this with Godfather 1 and 2, would you be the same way? If it makes it better, I guess, fine. But if it doesn't, then why fuck with it?
I'll tell you, I'm conflicted a little bit because I love those movies, obviously. But if he rejiggered with it, yes, I would watch it. It's the same thing with the Godfather saga that I've talked about many times.
There's no issue with watching it. I think everybody might be curious about what something looks like after a redo. But anyway, go on.
No, the reason that I bring that up is that when I did watch the Godfather saga, there were a few pieces of the puzzle that were left out of the original cut, like Vito and Michael having that conversation before they go in to see the consigliere in the hospital of, Michael, I want you to come work for me. That adds juice to that whole story. And if Coppola has extra footage that he thinks would enrich that product, yes, I think you can monkey around with a masterpiece, and I might like it even more. Just like I like that first section of the Godfather saga even more.
But
than
I
like the original cut.
So I'm a crank ass. So what I would like to propose is that we don't erase original films in our conversations.
No, of course not.
With these director's cuts, like I like the Martian extended cut. It's got 11 minutes of mostly scenic footage. It's not better than The Martian. And when people ask me, hey, do you like The Martian? I don't go, I like the extended cut better. But there are a lot of people like, I know we did this, don't take this the wrong way, but we did this Kingdom of Heaven thing where Chris agreed with whoever had said so online that the director's cut makes that movie a lot better. But Kingdom of Heaven is still Kingdom of Heaven. That's still the movie we got, and that's still the movie that it is. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they came around later and released another version is fine. It can be part of the discussion. It's a different movie. It does not erase the existence of the first movie.
Yeah, that's and I think those situations, they have kept the originals intact. So there is there's no problem with having your average a director's cut come out, as long as you can still see the original that you fell in love with or whatever. That's what that Kingdom of Heaven Blu-ray does is it has both versions on there. So I like the idea of keeping the record of it, and maybe there's just maybe that's just me and a handful of other people, but the Star Wars thing I think is the thing that bothers me the most. And if Coppola ever did Godfather 1 and 2 and just said, here's the definitive version, you can't get the old one anymore, then I'd be upset about that probably.
Yeah.
Oh, I would totally be upset. I would be guarding I've got 2 copies of it. I would be guarding those films with my life. Well, maybe not, but that's a little hyperbolic. I think it's like but I love them. There's an
earthquake, and you're like, okay, save Hudson, and is it Candy or the Godfather trilogy? Okay.
My wife's like, get the dogs. I'm like, no, I'm going to get the Godfather.
You get the dogs. I'm getting the Godfather.
That's right.
The rubble will come down and I'll protect it with my body.
Yes. You put a fireproof blanket over it. I believe that's going to do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter, SoundCloud. We're also on Discord. If you want to get on Discord, you can go to our Reddit page and go to the right side and find a link there, or you can go to Facebook and private message me, and I will give you a link there.
Can I shout out one thing real quick before we end? It's been a long time since we've shouted this out, but the theme song that you're about to hear at the end of the episode and the theme song that you heard at the beginning of the episode was written and recorded by our friend L'Orange. And he has an album out, Marlowe 2 with Solemn Brigham, and it's genius.
Yeah.
Came out this year. Cannot recommend it enough. I want to give L'Orange a shout out because he's been a great friend to us. He's produced some amazing music for us, and by himself. Pick up Marlowe 2. It will rock your body.
Yeah. It does. All right, that's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Shear. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Jeremy, what do you think of Latter Day Friends?
Explain.
Season 7 on.
Not very good.
God damn, I didn't laugh once.
I mean,
during this is the Holiday Armadillo, which I guess was super funny at the time, and I remember laughing at it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. But man, I didn't laugh once.
They get more caricature-y. I mean, season 3, 4, and 5 are sweet spot. They're all great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's hit or miss. I think there are still good episodes, but it's not like Frasier or even Seinfeld, where like season 9 of Seinfeld is almost the best season of that show. Like other than the finale, they were in peak form.
Friends went down. The last episode I thought was good just because it resolved things so well.
Yeah,
but like. No, it ain't funny. Tain't funny. Like the Holiday Armadillo thing is like Chandler trying to bribe the maitre d' at the fancy restaurant, and it's like the money's in the other hand when he tries to shake his hand, and it's like even with all the physical comedy, that's not funny. No, that's not funny at all.
I concur.
Nice job on the hair, by the way.
Thank you.
Did you go scissors?
Clippers,
baby.
Clippers. Yeah.
I had to order some off Amazon, and I put it off for 2 or 3 days because I wasn't quite ready to just do that.
It's a commitment.
and then one day I got into fuck it mode, and I was like, all right, it's now or never. We're doing this. And I read the instructions, and I went on the lightest setting first. And I started cutting, and I was like, I think they think that most people are going to have a normal hair at this point when they do it. And I did not. I had a huge bushy, whatever. Like just it was, I had 2 or 3 inches of fucking hair coming off of me on the and that early setting cut off quite a bit, but it was still leaving me like super long. So I was like, all right, I'll go down 1, and then I ended up having to go just go all the way down. I mean, go all the way down to like whatever it was, the 1 inch or whatever, and because I wasn't making any dents in it after a while. I was just sitting there, nothing. And
you got to go high and tight, man.
Yeah, and then finally I was just like, all right, I'm just going to go all the way down. And that's scary because you start doing it, and if you're, this is the first time I've ever done it. There were definitely parts, there are probably still parts now, in fact, that were just uneven all over the place. It was like a little spot here and a little spot there, and this was still, I mean, I was like, how do I don't want to like fuck this up. But I mean, ended up making it pretty short anyway. So it didn't really matter much. And he's like, all right, we'll just make it real fucking short. What does it matter? So
nice.
I have never been in more of a fuck it mode regarding my hair than this goddamn pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I went from let me grow it and see what happens to let's see what happens if I give myself a 25-year-old's haircut, and who knows where I'll go next. But I'm thinking it's going to be ponytail time.
Did you shave the sides or like really get
all
those
the
tight?
way up? Yeah, it's shaved all the way up.
Oh shit!
And then it's
totally Macklemore. The scene in Stripes where they shave everybody's head, like John Candy and everybody at boot camp. Weirdly enough, they don't shave Bill Murray or Harold Ramis's head. They cut it short, but they don't shave
probably
it
in
all
their
the way.
contract.
Probably so, but they actually did that. Like who directed Stripes? Was it Ivan Reitman? I think it was Ivan Reitman.
Yes, it was.
He said, like, you guys have got to go all the way. So Candy was just like, fuck it. And his hair was long. He was like, yeah, man, shave me down. And they would just go, zzz. It's awesome. There's also a good scene. And did you guys ever see Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood?
I saw it a long time ago.
Fucking love that movie. That movie's rad as hell. But he, once he shaves his recruits down, he walks, he's a great drill sergeant. He walks out and he's like, Smells like a Ben Gay factory out here.
And usually my
so you
dick
can
comes
draw
out.
inappropriate pictures for your wife, like Christmas tree dick.
I do. She's so mad about that because she wants to keep them, but she doesn't want to keep the dirty ones. And I'm always like, why? I mean,
You should
like,
publish that shit.
What if we die and someone's looking through them? And I'm like, they'll think I'm hilarious, man. What's the problem?
Yeah.
And I have a lot of excitement about the short story stuff that I've got planned. So
It'll be
Good for you, man. I love those short stories.
You'll be 65 or something, and some tastemaker will run across the Naples.
Fuck yeah!
And
be like, whoa! Did you guys see this?
this will be after they have
20
made,
years ago.
18 different Batman versions and 70 Spider-Mans and
Yep.
But hey, anyway,
70 Spider-Mans.
did you see that Chadwick Boseman plays James Brown movie?
Get
It
on
was
up.
on the other day. I've seen pieces of it. I haven't seen all of
I haven't
it.
seen him.
He's really good, but I didn't like it. I thought it was way too like montagey, and
That's what the main problem with those movies are. Those biopics for me.
yeah,
You gotta
he's
make sure we
great.
get everything in there.
Yeah, seriously. I've been doing this thing since the man passed to try to watch his movies when they come up. So I watched that Marshall movie where he plays Thurgood Marshall and Josh Gad is in it.
Mm.
I thought that was good. And I hadn't seen this one, so I watched that. And again, I think he's fantastic in it. I just didn't care much for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a new thing too, coming out, like a old school jazz type of movie coming out.
Well,
I
that
need
sounds
to look it
awesome.
up.
I also watched that 29 Bridges or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
And that
the
was
one where they changed the number of bridges many times in the title.
It's pretty standard fare, but I'm just trying to get to know the man's work more and celebrate his life a little bit more. And
Nice, good for you, man.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same thing with me when that Get On Up came on the other day. Was just sort of like, I kind of wanted to watch it. I don't know what was going on at the time that I couldn't watch it all the way, but I was immediately arrested by the fact that he was on the screen, and I wanted to kind of keep up with it and everything. But yeah, I feel
I'll tell you what, I've got a couple of James Brown albums that I used to listen to religiously, man. Sex Machine and Say It Loud, I'm Black, I'm Proud. He had some good fucking songs, man. And Living in America was not one of them.
why don't they do that though at like big boxing matches? Why don't they have like awesome singers like drop out of the sky on a stage and like perform some awesome song before the match? They got shitty rock bands at halftime at the hockey game. Why don't you give me halftime? Why don't you give me like why can't I see Nickelback rock out before Roy Jones Jr. punches someone in the dick? I don't know.
There's probably there might be a luck situation, like a what would you call it? Superstition about it, because Apollo died in that match, if you remember.
That's true.
He sure did.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you were going to be
I must break
a
it.
boxer, what would your walk-in music be?
Oh shit.
Dry the Rain from Beta Band.
So you're gonna walk in for 7.5 minutes.
All right. I will be all right. Yeah, that's so annoying in High Fidelity that he puts on the CD, but the song starts like 3.5 minutes into the song.
First time you listen to that
breaks
song for real, you're like, "What? This isn't even the same fucking song."
How about 9 Inch Nails' March of the Pigs? That might be a good one to come out on.
Nice.
Step right up!
March! Push!
I could go for some Rage Against the Machine, like
yeah, Bulls on
Bulls
Parade.
Ooh,
Bulls on Parade, or People of the Sun, or really Bomb Track.
I was thinking like I want to fuck you like an animal.
Yeah, closer. Yeah.
I actually figured out how to play some Rage Against the Machine on the guitar the other day.
Nice.
So I was jamming out to that because it's all riffs. It's all riffs within like 3 frets of each other because Tom Morello can't really do like a virtuoso type of thing. It's all like and so it's easy enough for me to play.
It is Sergio Corbucci that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood name checks.
No shit.
The second most famous director of spaghetti westerns in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching this going, I bet Tarantino watched this movie like 50 times back in his day.
He goes to Sergio Corbucci.
Mm-hmm.
That's my Kurt Russell voice.
Sergio Corbucci. Yeah, he did.
Sudden fucking narration.
Kurt Russell, like, I think was in some John Wayne stuff or whatever. I think.
Oh, yeah?
Early in his early days.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, there's plenty of times where he like goes into a John Wayne impersonation. He does it in Death Proof for sure. But you know, he's got that.
No, that was when I was watching that interview with him and Goldie Hawn. It was the movie right after he starred with her that he was in a few John Wayne. He was in a few westerns.
Yeah, he was in a lot of westerns. That's how he sort of started, and he was a child actor and all that. So
he's been around for what 80, 90 years.
Yeah. Conservatively.
I got a good list, man. I'm not going to run out of rants or recommends and warns for a long time.
Yeah.
No baby, it was only rants.
No cans, just babies.
Okay.
Cut this part. Don't put this in the episode.